Good morning. How's everyone?
Morning.
Thank you for having us at Rockbridge. I know we're home of the Rockets. I want to thank Mr. Brown, Ms. Buchanan, Mr. Marshall, and Mr. Davis for working to help get this set up. So we actually are streaming live through your announcements YouTube channel. So the technology that you all use every day for your announcements, Mr. Brown has allowed us to use all of your equipment and your link so that teachers across our region can use the link and see exactly what we're doing today. So we're slightly off just a little bit, but it should work out because we'll make this a little bit more extended. And our presenter today has agreed to assist with our current state of affairs with going into a digital virtual format to give us some tips for online instruction. And so that's just going to be a slight adjustment. And I think in education we have to be flexible. And we certainly could not have predicted this. If you had asked me last week, would we be preparing for 2 weeks of, at least 2 weeks of online instruction and digital learning and Verge and assignments and Chromebooks and hotspots, I would have told you, no, we're not there. Well, we're here. And it is very serious. I asked them to wipe down the tables and clean everything in this room, which I appreciate your team, Mr. McKenzie and his team, for doing that so that we can do our part and make sure that we stay germ-free and enclosed space-free. So I'm fine if you want to spread out. We have a lot of room. So we are in for a treat. Today we have Sherelle Jones McKnight. She has introduced herself as Sherelle Jones as well last year, and Sherelle McKnight. So we're gonna run it all together, and since Jones is in there, I'm just gonna keep that part. So she came last year, and how many of you got a chance to see her last year? Okay, very good. So if you didn't get a chance to see her, you're in for a treat. And I think from the feedback that we got last year, we wanted to empower our teachers with as many tools to help our students. And we know they're not all at the same place. We know their needs are not all the same. We know teachers' needs are not all the same. And what we found is that when we remove the stigma of you have to know everything, but actually to be honest with where we are with our own math instruction, our own math anxiety, our own challenges, even addressing misconceptions, then it opens the door for really being able to learn and then to share that with our students. The reality is, if you don't understand the math, your students won't understand the math. The teacher's knowledge is the ceiling, and that's research-based. You can't give them what you don't know or what you're uncomfortable with. So our goal with the district has been, and if you've been around for a while, the Do the Math protocol, Polya's problem solving, you all have been using many of the strategies and activities, interventions, tools, manipulatives, and so forth that our district has provided. But we always want to layer that with additional support for our teachers. And it's been said that if the only tool in your toolbox is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. If the only tool you have in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And all of our students learn differently. They come to us with different abilities. You all come to us with different backgrounds and abilities as well. And teachers, through a course of a career, build their educator toolbox. And so it is with that lens that I offer this regional math PL for our elementary school teachers. Ideally, it would be milestones preparation And that's gonna be very interesting online, because all of the teaching that you've already done, we want it to stick, plus we wanna make sure we get a few more things in there. But I don't want us to be worried, I don't want us to panic, I do want us to be safe, and I do want us to do what's best for our children, given the conditions that we have. And so I don't know what testing will look like. I don't know what Georgia Milestone will look like. I don't know if it would be pushed back, if it'll be postponed. I don't know if it'll be modified. I don't have the answers to those questions, but I will commit to you, as I committed to my principals, that as soon as I know, you will know. And so when I give it to them, I ask them to continue to share with all of our stakeholders. So this long extended greeting is to give those people an opportunity who are logging in at this time to do so. And hopefully now everyone has gotten in there and signed on. Hopefully the links have gone out to some of the teachers in other school buildings. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm super excited to be here with you all. Now, we are going to turn it over to our presenter for today from Power ASC.
Hey, you can, I'm playing. Don't worry about that. All right, y'all, thanks for having me back. So the title was already Maximizing Math Moments, which is really important now because y'all didn't even give me date. Everybody else said we're gonna be out 2 weeks. The cat said we'll let y'all know. If parents don't call us, we'll call you to let y'all know when to send your baby back. So we need to maximize, one, the time that we would have had together. Now we don't even have that time. So maximizing so that they don't lose the things we've had. It's just super hard to try to introduce new things when you're not face to face. So we'll talk about some of those things as well. So what we'll do today is find ways to maximize these math moments. So, all right. Did this already go? I sent it to you. Did you send it to them as well? They don't have y'all. It's gonna come up for y'all, but just in case you want to have it. So all these, and you'll get this anyway, is the links, and I know you're familiar with these because we're constantly referencing how much is this going to be worth, where should we spend our time. But let's take a look at this. So this is where my third grade teachers. So let's take a look, and they're pretty similar for every grade level, but we will take a look at each one of them. So let's go ahead and do a what do you notice, what do you wonder? And I know we're spread out a little bit, but Hattie's research says that classroom discourse is an effect size of 0.82, and we are still learners. So let's discuss, so we can get some of that effect size going on for us. So what do you notice, what do you wonder about the third grade? And it's just the links. I just put it all together, had to cut snip, and then this is the approximative test. So take, let's say, 2 minutes, talk to your neighbor about what you notice, what you wonder.
Live far apart. I noticed 35%. I've been noticing that, right? The number, 35% is number and operations. And next is, so I think about that all the time. Yeah. So all that is.
See that and one in
Partitioning information. So that's how we're doing right now. That's what we're doing now. Yeah. Partitioning. But would you do that as geometry or also numeracy fractions and comparative fractions?
Fractions would be under, I think, number and operation.
Yeah, that's what I would think. So I wonder if the partitioning is
Even measurement and data is
but operations and algebra thinking.
it's still the heavy, what plus something.
Yeah.
Finding it. Yeah.
But you're not having to do all.
No, I'm
You're
just
fractioning.
saying, I did measurement data and then I
You,
did.
and I said that probably in the last,
That's a
so
false
yeah, oh, she had math things.
Not your
Yeah,
I think about,
Yeah,
I mean, even just like multiplying, like I went to like, that's what I had instead of that. Wait, multiplication is what you said?
Yeah, just
Anybody want to share out what they noticed or what their partner noticed?
I was wondering, the partitioning with one of the standards is,
Good morning. morning. Can I get a custodian, please, to the media center? Can I get a custodian to the media center?
The partitioning with the, fractions and then comparing the fractions. I'll just look forward to some strategies.
Okay. Will you mention what you all said about the practice part?
Sure, we were looking at how, fifth grade fractions is 30% of the test, so we're like, where's fractions? And then this bunch was like, oh, it's included with the numbers in operation in F1, 2, and 3. Those are combined, which is still the heaviest part of the test.
Yeah.
So we all know numbers in operation and fractions, and these skills build on. So if that's not solid, they're gonna struggle throughout. So
Yes,
that
that's what we were
section
saying.
right there has to be utmost important.
And this is super big, especially, so we do fractions in 2 and 1, but it's just partitioning. The partitions half, this is the fourth. Then they get fractions, but then the trouble is that it's not split out in 3rd grade. And a lot of our kids, if they do really well in MBT 1, 2, and 3, they won't be on anybody's radar. Because we look at that domain and we say, oh, well, this kid's pretty solid. And then 4th grade doesn't get to fractions until later in the year, and they say, oh, you know what? I probably should have done a ton of front loading because it's not there. Their MBT hit it because 3rd grade is the only time where it's put together. And so our 3rd grade teachers, knowing that when we switch to that 4th, we need to really be talking to each other and then looking not just at that domain, but let's go, I know it's tedious, but let's go item by item and see where they did so I can match up how they did in fractions versus how they did in numbers in base 10, because for everybody else, it's gonna be split out.
Yeah.
All right. So this is 4th grade. Still heaviest is what? All right, and now fractions is all by itself. It was all by itself. Whereas 3rd grade, I could get 30%, but it was between MBT and NF. Now, 30% of it is all on the fractions. And then 5th grade, back at it with the fractions. And so we know that's going to be a part that we really need to focus on. I want us to look at this. Just kidding. Let's look at the approximate number of points. So it gives us, but then we get the DOK levels, because on this part, this is still in that same document, and it's on that link, but it breaks it down for us. So look at the DOK levels. Of course, we know we can't assess 4 because that's that extended, so that's a creating or some kind of project or something. But what can we do to make sure that we're maximizing those math moments, considering what we know about it, how it's weighted, and what we know about the DOK levels? Go ahead and turn and talk.
When you say math moments, are you talking about, moments that are highs or moments that you're
Everything,
scheduling,
anytime.
planning? Or just anytime you teach math outcome?
That's what I'm going up to where a beginner learner.
I prefer to teach from that perspective, because most of like rehashing and I like the kids who are advanced.
All right, what are you thinking in terms of the percentage and the approximate number of points for each DOK level? Say
A significant percentage of the test is geared toward beginning and developing learners to be successful.
And so a lot of times we'll think like, oh man, we gotta make sure we get everybody proficient. Let me give everybody a bunch of practice at DOK 3. Honestly, I'm gonna have to play a numbers game, and this is just 'cause backs against the wall. I need to really shore up these and make sure that they can get it, because if you weren't going to get, if you don't have 1 and 2, you probably weren't gonna get 3 anyway. So I should really spend a bunch of my time making sure I have kids that have a strategy for all those DOK 1, all those recall things, making sure that I've had that kind of classroom experience where they know I need to see your proof paper. Your scratch paper can't be in. Draw a picture, right? Because we know some of our kids, it looked intimidating, I just guessed. And then we say, well, what strategy did you do? Oh, strategy. So if we can do a lot of work with making sure, hey, we gotta get, I would tell my kids, these are the gimmies. We gotta get the gimmies. Was DOK 1, gotta happen. DOK 2, give me most of them. DOK 3, we're trying. But I know if we don't have 1 and 2s and 3s, we're gonna be struggling anyway. All right, so DOK 1, recall information. And we had a question over here, and it's not necessarily that it has to be a multiple choice, because it can still be DOK 1 and be a constructive response. And that part would be if it still just has, so-and-so has 28 markers and wants to share them with friends, and so it ends up as 28 divided by 4, that's still DOK. Sometimes we'll think, oh, well, this is a word problem, that makes it harder. It's the skill needed to be able to solve that. And so that doesn't take into account that some of our babies, that their deficit is reading. This doesn't make it a harder question for one student because they're struggling reading versus another student that reads fine. It's still DOK 1. So making sure they have some kind of strategy for that. What's DOK 2?
Percentage.
The numbers and operate, I forget the, can you? Okay.
Basic reading. So we want to be able to describe, right, and explain the why or how. So that DOK 1 says 28 divided by 4. That's the first part of the constructive response. And then the second part, it might say, well, why does this picture match the model, or which picture matches the model and why? So that's part of being able to talk about, this is why this basic recall of information works. All right, what about DOK 3? So all those, why are you not talking loud? These people don't think I'm talking to myself. So we want them to go from their basic reasoning to complex reasoning so I can justify. So not just explaining, but I can make those connections of this belongs to this because I can bring over these math ideas. And then we won't have any 4, but that's that extended reasoning, because that's when we do, create this, or here's your project and come back and, have made this, but obviously you can't assess that on a state test. All right, so our constructive response worth up to 2 points. Partial credit, maybe Kim's favorite. This is my favorite. That's why I think we've got to do a good job in class of, I think I've shared with y'all before that, my favorite note, but telling them, because some of our kids won't start. I don't know what this is. I'm not going to do anything because I'm not totally sure. Baby, put something down. Don't take yourself out the game. Give me something, and then we can go from there. And that's us as teachers, not just valuing right answers, but valuing and acknowledging flawed reasoning as well, to say, this part you did really well. We just want to fix this, because if our kids have that, and we say 180 days, but we take out math testing, we take out coronavirus days, so we take out all these days. We know it's not 180 days, but if they've had enough practice of, my teacher needs something down, I need to try, I'm teaching with my paper on the board. Oh, you got it right, I got it wrong, but it was her favorite wrong answer. Because we want them to value that thought process of, this part is okay, I just need to fix this. And even when we're grading, we might want to consider that partial credit, because we know some of our kids will shut down. Math anxiety, oh, I don't know it, I'm not doing it, I don't want to be embarrassed. Maybe put something down, we can see if we can get you some points. I would even give my kids, say, well, this first part was wrong. However, if we use that wrong math in part A, then part B is correct. So I'll give you something, but that just keeps them on the track of trying. All right, and then there we go. The extended constructive response worth up to 4 points. Again, partial credit may be given. The difference in those, of course, is that it's extended, so it's asking longer. And that's where usually we're going to have some DOK 3, because they're making some connections between something, so there's some complex reasoning going on. Whew, this part hurts my feelings. Experience tells us students often skip the explanation portion of constructive response and extended constructive response because they think this is just one question. I'll just skip it, it's one question. That's 4 points you left on the table, maybe. That's 2 points you left on the table. But to them, because we didn't, maybe it's, I know I didn't when I was last in class, I didn't explain it well. Say, yes, this is one. If we go back, it said there was 48 questions for like 59 points. That means in those ones that I have several, I need to be able to get those points, because I think it's just one, then I think it's not a big deal, but I could have put something down and got 8 points, 2 points. We gotta pick up those points where we can. So just reminding your students to give me something, and then we'll work through it. Woo! So we pointed this out too. So if we just look at strategies for whole number computations and strategies for fractions, 60% of the third grade test. 70% of the fourth grade test, 65% of the fifth grade test. You can't pass if you don't have this part. And that's again why we want to focus on that DOK 1 and 2, because I can get a lot of points there, especially in the amount of time that I have left. I know most folks have their sign up and we were 20 some odd days spent for milestones. We don't know what that'll look like now or what's going to happen. But I know with the time I have left, I need to be spending 60% of my time on what 60% of the test is going to be on. Fourth grade, 70%, 65% for fifth grade. All right, so let's do some math. So this is a DOK 2. This will be in there mixed in, so I have fourth, third, fifth, and mix them all in. Matt has 4 leftover pieces of fabric from some projects. How many pieces are left over? 4. All right. And some of these are from DOK, and just to change the numbers a bit in case you already gave them to your students. That way, when you get this, you'll still have a bank of problems that you can share out with your kids. The lengths of the pieces are. So all that, what do we do for our kids that don't have access to this problem? What are we going to do? Because it's DOK 2, so it's not too terribly difficult. But my kids that, as soon as they saw the fractions, as soon as they saw that it wasn't multiple choice, they have already decided in their mind, oh, I'm not going to do this one. And we don't need them skipping it because, again, this is where I can get multiple points, and to them it's just 1 point. So let's talk about some strategies. What are we doing to make sure that everybody has access to this problem?
I mean, everybody has an ability to try to solve it. Encourage them to write down what they know. Is that what you're asking? I'm not sure.
I'm just want to hear from y'all.
One of the strategies that have the students go through what's called pieces. So what I would do is have them circle all your numbers, you're asking like what strategy or approach would we have for them to understand what they can do to solve this problem. So you'll go through, circle all their numbers there, then they'll go and underline that question. And so it's like already kind of giving them a sense of saying, what do I know about this question? Okay, I know that I have these numbers. I know that this is what the question is asking me. And then after that, they'll box keywords. So what am I going to box? Okay, so box, how much, you know.
Keywords, we want to stay away from those.
Oh, okay.
Because the thing is, in a single step word problem, and that's the thing, it'll get introduced to them when they're younger, and they say, Ms. Smith taught me this, and it always worked, but it'll get to where it doesn't. And we don't want to introduce kids to things that won't mathematically work every single time because they won't know when to use it and when not to use it. So y'all are fancy. Go ahead.
Is this okay? Like, when it's something like that, and, you know, fractions are scary, I tell them, if you put a whole number there, what would you still do to solve the problem? And then they put the whole 1 and 2, and they're, okay, well, I'll combine the whole number, well, then that's what we're still going to do with the fractions. Instead of being afraid of the fraction, substitute with something comfortable.
Take something they know and then leverage it. And so for some of our kids, I need to think of this as a whole number, but not keep it as a whole number, because 1/3 is not the same as 1. I'm going to say, oh, it's 1. And also the very bottom in K2 is always counting. In K5 is always draw a picture. Draw a picture. Let's see this math, because really what we want when we first introduce this is manipulative so they can hold the math. And then we go to the pictorial so they can see the math, and then they go to the abstract. But if it's straight abstract and I need to see the math because I can't hold the math, I can't pull out my manipulatives in it, so I need to see the math, so I need to draw a picture. So everybody else draw a picture. How do we show this? And how do we help our children that are still struggling with fractions so they can do this problem without being afraid of the fractions? There's some over there. So they're 1/3. They can show I have 1/3, I have 2/3, I have 1/3, I have 2/3. So now instead of just me having this, wasn't even sure, now I can trust my kids to move over. Okay, well, let's take this over and make a whole. So if I take this, I want to move this 1/3 to here, so now I can have one whole. I take this and move it over, now I can have one whole. So now I see that I have 3/3. This is gone, this is gone, and I have 3/3. If they want to leave it as 6/3, especially when it's, because sometimes we're quick to say you have to change it, because we're thinking of the multiple choice, they won't see their answer, they'll panic. But in a constructor response or an extended response, if they're not comfortable changing it, leave it, tell them to leave it. Because this is one from the Georgia DOE, and it says they can have 2, or they can have what? What else? How else would I say 2?
6:30.
Or they can have 6/3. And so for our ones that aren't comfortable, tell them to leave it. If it's multiple choice, then of course they have to, if you don't see your answer, then make sure the simplified answer will be there. But if it's not, leave it with what you're most comfortable with, because I don't need you to do all this math and then somehow make a mistake in your division, and now you've written in a wrong answer, and you could have just kept it, and that's still the same thing. So that's just something we want to tell them. I know a lot of times we're quick to say, they have to go to the mixed number, they have to go to, maybe not. Especially when it's something where it's not multiple choice, they can leave it. What about part B? How can we make sure that they can show part B? Go ahead and draw that out. Think of that kid right now as we're working. I want you thinking of that kid that we know struggles. How are we going to make sure they can get these DOK1 and these DOK2 questions? Y'all gotta draw it out. Talk to each other.
Try to change the 6/3 to 2 or whatever. Other than that, but like, what I saw.
Great.
Just stop it here. So whatever, it's still hashing. So that means that.
Yeah, fraction of the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice, but it started like on a number line. Started on a number
That works.
I mean, that's what I did too, like I was, this kind of fabric, year 3, for 8 equal parts. You use, this much, and then that's how I would do it.
What's coming up?
Everybody else said beautiful.
Come on, show us.
Oh, I appreciate it.
All right, so here's another strategy. Come in.
Miss Granite.
Ms. Granny says she uses her kids.
Well, I mean, how I would do it, or how I do it, if it talks about like ribbon or fabric and stuff, like I just would draw. Like here is your piece of fabric, it's cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
3/3.
Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just make sure I'm right. Like there's my piece of fabric. And then go in, use 2 pieces for one project, so that's 1, 2. You use 3 pieces for another project. 1, 2, 3, and then you're left with 3/8. That's how I would do it.
So if my kids are intimidated by 1-word problems with 2 fractions, and my base though is to always tell them, so even when they come to your desk with, oh, I didn't understand, where's your picture? Where's your model? Because if we see that math, we can maybe get a better understanding of the math. And again, I'll take a partial credit response. Give me something versus, because our kids see and they think this is worth 1 point. This one question is worth 1 point. No, baby, we're leaving too many points on the table if we don't do something. So draw that picture has to be, that's my, everyone who needs access. Go ahead.
I have a question. On the second one, I believe that my student would be okay with that because drawing the 8 pieces and then crossing out the ones. But the first question, I think that my students will, the leftover word, they will struggle with it. Because whenever they hear leftover, they think it's subtraction. So they will come up
That's
with,
why we don't teach keywords.
Yeah, that was.
That's perfect as to why we.
That's exactly why.
In their mind, oh, this always goes with this operation, and then I don't make any sense of what's happening in this problem because I saw that keyword.
But they have been taught that for.
You gotta unteach you, and listen, this,
Yeah.
it's on video, so we can't say I didn't say it, but I don't know if that's me. I used to tell my kids, and this is, I'm not encouraging this, but I would say, this was, I was, oh, who told you that? Oh, Miss Anderson lied to you, baby. And Miss Anderson would come to me in the hallway, you told my kids I lied, well, you did lie. So I told them that. So I can, not saying you should do that, but I am saying we've gotta talk to our folks behind us, or so that our jobs aren't hard. We never wanna make the next teacher's jobs hard. Because what happens is teachers back against the wall, tick tock, I've gotta do something. And so I get this trick that the kids don't make any sense of, but then it makes somebody else's job hard because, who's my fifth grade teachers? Fourth grade will say the big number goes in the box. And then we get them in fifth grade and we really want them to do 3 divided by 5. And they keep trying to do 5 divided by 3 because all fourth grade, all year they kept saying the big number instead of saying the dividend, what we have. And so then they have to spend a bunch of time unteaching something, so we don't want to make the next person's job harder. Unfortunately, your job is already harder, but tell those teachers, hey y'all, stop. Let me hear you say it, stop. You gotta say it like that, they're not gonna believe you. All right, practice it. All right. OA6, also a DOK too, so we want to make sure everybody gets it again, not a multiple choice. So maybe I'm just going to skip it, and then I'll put some points on the table. So what are we going to do to make sure our kids have access to this? That's only the answer for most of them. Make sure they draw a picture. So what can we do to make sure my kids are able to figure this out? Especially when they give them this, they started you off. They told you what to do. Do it. Just do what they told you to do and let's see what we come up with, because now they're saying the answer I want is what multiplication equation can I use? It doesn't even want the answer to this necessarily, but if I go ahead and find the answer since they told me that part, now I can get to what the multiplication sentence should be. So again, I'm telling them, hey, I want you to draw this picture. I need to see your 28. What did you have? That was your dividend. I need to see it. What was your divisor? I need to see those groups. That way I'm making sure I can trust my kids to count, right? I've got my struggling kid, with, can count to 28. I can make sure that they can have access to that. And I said, DOK2 again, that DOK1 or 2, bulk of the test. How can I maximize, make sure I get most of my points? The standards that I know will be most addressed, and those DOK levels that I know will be most addressed. All right, good. Ready for another? Yeah, okay, good. All right. DOK1 for our fifth grade, a number is shown. It's a fan favorite, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's seemingly easy, but it just doesn't translate, and that's fine. They got it in fourth, and then when they get to us, they can do 10 times in 1/10. But that's why we had to stop saying the decimal rules. That's another talk for another time. But the number is shown. How many times greater is the value of the underlined digit 6 than the value of the digit 6 that is not underlined? Our babies. It's a DOK1. Gotta get this one. So which strategy? What am I making sure all of my students are doing? So this isn't milestones, this is regular class time. As I'm all yes. I have to see a place value chart on every single child's page. I have to. Because that'll help you to get rid of some of these as the incorrect answer. If you have it, and again, that draw that model. I need to see the math. So everybody go ahead and draw that place value chart. Go ahead and have that teacher talk of what you would say to that kid that's struggling.
I was telling her that I made a huge chunk of money. So they can afford it and you can
Yeah, sometimes it does that, and
that's been.
so this one, you would, what are the two that you just eliminate? Exactly, I think he would best to the job.
Fifth grade, what answer will most of what incorrect answer will be the most prevalent among your kids?
It's funny, this is her standard. She's been working on. I don't know, they might say 60.
Yeah.
I think.
Most of what I see kids go 60 because they spent a lot of time. One of every
what is
there you go.
Yeah.
And I stopped there because all first through fourth, I spent a bunch of time on. This is underlined, this is the value of it. And so I see that, oh, in their mind, oh, I do got this, I got this one, it's my brain and everything. Well, maybe that's not exactly what they were asking us. So I put it in the place value chart. Well, what is the value of the underline? And then I know it's 60. And then how does it compare to the digit that's not underlined? Well, how much is that? Now I need to think, okay, well, 60 or 60 bigger. So that's where we're slowing them down.
And neighbors are only 10 times, you know, as big. Neighbors can't be.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially they're the same digits.
Right.
So we can do that if I had a 60 and a 2. And I can say, oh, not only was this bigger in terms of shifting in the place value, but also because this is 3 times more than the 2. But I have the same digit, I don't even want to look at those. Tell them those, I had a 50% chance of getting this right. If 1, I know I can only get 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, 1,000 times bigger based on these being the same digit. So when we're working with our kids, we're going back to this standard, back to it again.
Yeah.
Having them put in the place value chart, and then let's really dissect, what do we want here? Well, this is 60, this is 6. Now let's talk about the 60 and the 6, right? And that's still, if I need to, I'm back to a picture, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So if I had to take these, man, how am I going to make sure that I can get this to this? I don't want to draw it all out. I also don't want to leave these points on the table. So if necessary, they got it wrong, they come to you. Good thing we're practicing right now, baby, before the test. Do me a favor, go ahead and draw this all the way out until you get to, and then let's group them together and see what we get. Because I need to give them something versus, I'm not sure, I'll just guess. So that draw, I've never had a kid run out of time on the test. A lot of times you say, oh, they can't spend that much time. They finish, their heads down, so they have time.
Right.
Take that time to get that problem correct.
And everybody can write lines. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it don't
Sticks and
matter.
dots, I can handle that.
Right.
So that's what we want. That access part of what can I make sure that everybody in the class can do? I can draw sticks and dots. I can put some stars in the circles. So I might not be able to do that operation the way it needs to be for me to be on the 5th grade level. I don't want to ship them off to middle school with them still doing this, but they need to have something in the toolbox. Because if all they have is that hammer, then again, they just, ma'am, please, what are you doing? Please stop. You're destroying stuff. And all I have is a hammer, so I have to use it.
And the reality is, for the students who are proficient and their skills are strong enough, their reading comprehension is strong enough, and they understand, they may not need the other strategies to access the problem. That's the reason we, as the educators, have to have other things, not for the students who are already proficient, but we feel good if the ones who answer the question in class get the answer. But then you've got 5 more over on the side who are clueless. And if we don't give them another strategy to access, then we are leaving points on the table. Not that our kids are points, but we're leaving that out there, and we don't want to do that.
And we've seen it. A teacher will go, they'll ask a few kids, they get it wrong, they say, Dr. Jones, what's the answer?
Right.
And then they say, right, see? Like, that baby came to you with that. That parent's been working with them since they were 4, they already had that. But we just felt good about a right answer. It made us feel good as a teacher. Oh, see, I was teaching. Not if 80% of the kids didn't get it. You were talking about it, but you haven't quite taught it because they still don't have it.
So what does that look like for a student who they're gonna take one stick and make it literally 10 dots?
So, yeah, I need to see, okay, well, if I have six ones, how do I make sure that I have every single one of these to have enough? So now I need to say, well, how am I gonna get this to be, for them, even if they don't know it's 10 times bigger? Because what we want is, of course, I'm here. But for ones that, ooh, you know what? Not quite sure. Well, if this is 6, how does this relate to 60? So this 1, I need all of these for this 1, for 6 to be 60. So how am I gonna get this 10 times bigger?
With the number so small, how would you feel about expanded form for someone else who might, if they saw that number, if they knew how to write that number in expanded form, and broke down that 60 as 6 times 10, and that 6 is 6 times 1, do you think that strategy, like they would see how it's 10 times more, so expanded form might also work for some?
That's associative property, I mean.
So
be in line.
Well, you know,
You want them to just have it,
they would do six
Like
times
5
10.
times 100.
Just trying to
Yeah.
take out the face
Okay.
value of each one. And I correct it.
so, are y'all on? Oh. For a while, Illuminate wasn't, so then we told our teachers to stop because if our kids only saw that way, they'd be confused. Yeah. Do y'all use Illuminate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that could be another way that a student could possibly see that.
I know it's a DOK one though.
Right,
I know
right,
everybody
right.
get those points. So,
We need it, whatever.
and then that's, again, more tools. Because some of them, oh, boom, got this. Even some of our proficient ones, our high flyers, they'll still read too fast because they got too short. And I still use the DOK one, because I just felt good and I just rolled on.
Too much.
Yes.
So,
Damn.
so that's a 5th grade standard. How would a 3rd and a 4th grade teacher that is getting a student ready to answer this question, what kinds of things are they doing in 3rd and 4th in preparation? Are they doing?
Well, fourth can do these because that's part of their standard. The only thing that changes well, it is their standard. Fifth, it only changes because they can do, 10 times or 110. Third, the biggest thing third needs to do for this is in that standard where they are multiplying by multiples of 10, is we can't just say just add a zero. Because then I have no understanding of what happened. I have to say this got 10 times bigger. So when I say if I know 5 times 4 is 24, why do I know, 5 times 4 is 20, why do I know 5 times 40? And then our kids will say, oh, it trails a zero or just add a zero. But when they say that, like, and you do that in number talk, so okay, so let's look at it. So 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 40, how did you know? And they say, oh, I just added a zero, do that. Okay, I added a zero, now what? Because they need to see that that's not even correct language for math. So that's definitely not what's happening because I added a zero. No, just put it on the end. I can't just put a digit on the end of it. Like, that doesn't work in math. Tell me what you need me to do, because if 3rd grade does a great job of saying, hey, this is 10 times more, because of, I had the 40 is 10 times more than the 4, that transitions to the 4th grade standard. And then 5th grade just picks that up and then also adds 1/10, so they go both ways on the place value chart.
I like to talk, especially with place value in terms of pennies, dimes. That seems to give, a clearer understanding. Like
And
that's
whole numbers
6,
or
9.
fractions or
Say it again.
in whole numbers or fractions or both?
Well, something like that, helping them see that, the 6 ones is 6 pennies. This 6 is 6 dimes. So, the difference that way, does that?
So I will use that with fractions because 6/10 would be 6/10 of
6
the
pennies.
way a dime looks to 1/10. But for whole numbers, this is 60, this is more 6 $10 bills, this is 6 $1 bill.
Oh, okay,
When I'm
because
in the-
you don't have the decimal yet.
When I'm decimals, then I can say
Okay.
1/100th because a penny is hundreds, a dime is 10. So that would be good for decimal understanding.
Okay.
But for whole
You
numbers,
stay away from it.
Yeah.
500
I mean, you can keep it, but you need
$6.
to turn it to,
6 $10
This is
bills
6
and
$10.
instead of dimes and pennies.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And they can still think of money, but they be thinking of $10.
tens, places,
Okay, so
and
they don't get messed
tenths.
up when they have the decimals.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, our NF1 at DOK2, but man, I'm explaining something. So like you said, it's not always that just because it's a low DOK level, it'll be multiple choice. So I'm explaining, it's only DOK2, which is again 1 and 2, both the test. But I don't want to explain about fractions, so what are we doing to make sure that when they get here, they're ready to talk about it? 3rd grade? Y'all 3rd grade? 3rd grade? Oh, sure. 3rd grade.
Back on the board.
Yes, back on
They
board.
said they can't see the board,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's on the
Is
board.
that
So
better?
what have we done to make sure they're successful with this part? How can I explain the fractions?
Is that better?
Yeah, it's clear now.
He said they
What
couldn't.
So,
What does the bottom of, I would ask, what does the bottom of a fraction represent? Sometimes I call it the dibotomator. and put words together, is that problematic for later?
Okay.
Mathematicians wanna all speak the same language.
Right.
If I'm a mathematician at Rockbridge and I go to, Cambridge, I need to speak the same language that those mathematicians are speaking.
So just making sure they identify the parts of a fraction.
Like the denominator and the numerator. That's, I'm always like putting that in their brain, you know, what is this called and what does it represent? What is this called, what does it represent?
And that's what we want, because this is the okay too, but really because the only thing I have to do is take what I know from the definitions. If I were just asking what part of this, then that would be the recall. But now the recall plus a little bit of basic reasoning, I have to take what I know about that definition to be able to explain about this. And so that's why we wanna make sure we're not just, one is not a top number or bottom number.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Like they have meetings and they have meetings.
This is either it is a number for, because it's a part of a number, or it's a piece of a number, or it's a mixed number, so I have a whole number and then a little bit more of that, or we can't say top number, bottom number, that takes that whole number understanding and tries to bring it over, and they start thinking of it in a
Yeah, they start thinking
that
of some numbers separately.
yes, and we don't want that, because, and then even out of, like the language out of, if I'm dealing with ratios, then I should be saying out of, otherwise I should be reading this as 1/6. Because I don't wanna do 6 ratio. They'll get there and they get to do that on their own. I don't have enough time to do my standards. I definitely can't take on somebody else's standards. So all they're looking for then, this explanation though, is that I can talk about what the definition of it is. So that's just us making sure every time we're in class, and I think there's some in here, giving them somewhere, because a lot of our kids will think the numerator means what's shaded. Because a lot of times in our textbook, the numerator is what's shaded. And then they see something that says, well, what's not shaded, or what is the stripe part, is to them it's like, oh, the numerator means the shaded part. Always, because that's what they see, so making sure we're giving them different ways of seeing it. Maybe not shaded. Alright, DOK 1. Okay, set of circles where fractions of the shapes are not shaded, so they will give us, and we do all the test taking, well, what word in there is different? We put it in all capital letters, bold, italicized. They could really put a QR code, you scan it, and it says, read this word differently. Look at this word, and some of our kids would still miss it. So slowing them down during that test prep time in class to say, ooh, I noticed something about this, where I need to pay special attention to. That's one reason well, it's a bunch of reasons, but one of the reasons I hate that it's on the computer is because when it was paper pencil, they could mark it up, they could keep drawing their attention to it. But because it's on the computer, it's easy to, it's just, I can flow on by it with no problem. All right, so what do we have? What do we do? Any kids struggling with this?
Harder for all, looking at the harder for all, and then emphasizing on the not.
So,
Mr. Biswell, please report to the front office at this time. Mr. Biswell, please report to the front office at this time.
so I think if this gets missed, like you said, then depending on which wrong answer they choose, I'm either missing what it means, like what the denominator means, how would I know the total number of pieces, or I skipped over not and I chose one that, so that's another slow down, slow down. Let's talk about what the parts of a fraction mean, because this, a 1, a DOK 1, oh, I gotta have this. What about this next one? There it is. Select all that apply. And what they'll usually do is A will be right. And because I stopped that, I got A was right, I stopped, I'm not doing anything else. And these ones aren't partial credit, it'll be an all or nothing. And so because it's all or nothing, and they'll put, and I did it, so even when y'all give it to your babies, oh, A, ooh, no, that's not gonna work. But man, from the ones that immediately do it, then now, I'm not going anywhere else.
If I wanna make A work.
They meant to put this, let me just go ahead and. So how do we make sure, again, especially if I'm already struggling with fractions, and this looks overwhelming, I don't wanna draw this out, so that's what I need to do. I need to.
I'm sorry, I keep going back to my thing when I was making my statement earlier about keywords, and I guess keywords means different things to different people when teaching math, because see, I'll go visit number 1. And when I say the keywords, I always say, what's the keyword in there? They would circle not, because that word right there is sticking out to them because it's saying something like, don't do it. And then when I come down here to this equation, for the second one, our keyword would be all that apply. You know, it's not
Okay.
necessarily, I'm saying keywords as far as like, you know, the traditional how-to really. And like even going back to the one that said the MBT 5 DOK one, when she was saying that they will most likely circle value. Looking the way, you know, and everybody's teaching kind of is different, so I guess keyword might not have been the correct choice of word to use, but my students would have circled many times more because that's where going into that question, that's what they're gonna do. They're not going to focus on the word value, but they're to focus on many times more, knowing that I need to know what's many times more, and then know that this question is not looking for value. So I guess my question would be, what kind of verb can I use opposed to saying keywords, you know, or whatever?
Cause that scared me.
Yeah, cause I know you were dying, and I'm like, she dying, and I didn't finish. I was like, okay, but that's how, you know, and like the methodology that I use in there, cause keywords for students know that all the time, you know, doesn't necessarily mean the traditional online level. How many, how more, you know, keywords for me is saying what is key to you that's sticking out. So if the kids don't look at that and say not is sticking out, let me
Okay.
underline or box that, cause I know this is something I'm not supposed to do because it's bolded and it's with capital letters.
Okay,
So.
I see, okay, so I apologize,
Yeah,
since we got different keywords.
Yeah, cause I was like, wait, she done.
So, I don't know, let's have some think time, not now, but later on, because most folks, and even if they've heard keywords, and it'll get fixed, because the teacher right here, she's on top to the okay one too,
Right.
to make sure that she tells them to stop. That's
So,
on you. So then, we won't get that anymore, so when we say keywords, my fear is that because we know so many of our kids have been taught keywords, that kid that's zoning in and out, when you say keywords, they say, okay, I got that. And then they stop listening, and now everybody else knows, no, our strategy is,
yeah,
or if I get a kid in the middle of the year that came from, they're listening, not saying down there would do this, but if they came from down there, and now they're like, oh, keywords, yeah, we used to do that in old school, but now they're thinking of something different, because it, and it's, again, mathematicians will always speak the same language, unfortunately, that language of keywords, they have a foothold on it, to me, altogether, how many more?
yeah.
And so I don't want us to have any of our kids confused as to that, so, that I like, but, we'll call it something.
Yeah, we gotta figure out something else.
So even back to this, DOK one, I need to get all my points. I know it's tedious, baby, let's go ahead and let's draw it, let's put it on number line, let's draw the picture. Because I need something for my kids who, too many fractions, too many equations, and select all that apply. Oh, fatigue set in.
On level
On a level one question. We're good? All right. MBT 5, 4th grade. Woo, 4th grade. All right. The trouble with multiple choice is that it, for a lot of our kids, turns into multiple guess. I'm gonna pick something interesting. So what do we think here? How do we make sure we can get access?
you know, let me know if this is right or not, but, you know, of course, you're gonna read the question, and we don't, and read it more than once too, that's a whole, that one time, you just, we all can miss something, read something once, so I definitely tell you, read everything more than once, especially a short question. And then, looking at the reasonableness, the answer choices, so some of us, you know, we might miss a carry, the this, when we're trying to multiply 2 by 2, but just reasonably thinking, that's close to 40 and that's close to 20. What's the only reasonable answer if they're not doing any, well, assuming I know I'm supposed to multiply
Right.
36 times 24, we can eliminate.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a 100% chance to get it right. This is not even, and I've seen
Yeah,
them
they're
on
not
that test, when they're not even close.
Yep.
If you know how to estimate and eliminate what's not reasonable. So that's a big thing, to just eliminate what's not reasonable.
So the first part you said if they know to even multiply. So that's why the first answer is, I see 2 numbers, I'm
Right,
gonna add.
right.
Oh, my answer's here, bada boom, bada bing, not boom,
And
boom,
I'm
boom.
done. That's the first answer too?
Yep. Got it, teacher's gonna be proud of me. So, again, draw a picture. And do I want a full picture of this? Absolutely not. But even if I draw a few, that'll get me on the track of, oh, this will be the operation. So if I know it's 36 inches of lace to make 1 pillow, she's making 24. Well, let me just show one, okay? Let me show another, okay? Let me show another, okay, so I'm past 60, I know I'm not adding anymore. And now I see, oh, this is repeated addition, this is multiplication, and then like you said, have your kids get that estimate first. We only do, not only, but a lot of times that rounding part is only isolation of round this to the nearest 10, round this to, let me use it in this problem. Let me take that skill and make sure I make it mean something. So 36 is about 40, okay. 24 is about 20. My answer should be about here. So that way, once I get whatever I get, because even that D I made for our kids who don't, if they, it's a different talk for a different time. Fourth grade is not supposed to be done. We about teach you this algorithm. I know some of them are doing, we won't talk about that. But the thing is, not this fourth grade though. Y'all fine when they come up to y'all. They haven't done it. But we know that some of our kids, because they still, this is why we don't want them to do it, because they still don't have the understanding of it. They're not going to put that 0 there because, oh, my teacher said, and really knowing that, oh, this is really 30, not 3. And then they'll get 216 because they'll do it straight through. And so even answers like those outliers are making it. So I know what mistake kids will make. And I'm going to give the answer that will make that kid who made the mistake I know they'll make. Now they feel good because, oh, my answer was there. And then sometimes even when the answer isn't there, they just pick one that's close enough to it. I got 230, not there. I will go with 216. That must be it. But if I go back to my draw a picture, draw a model, and if I had to draw them all out, then I do. I got time. I've not seen a kid run out of time. And I want to get all these points because it's not going to get easier than a DOK1. So making sure they get some kind of estimation. And that's even what we're doing. Hey, before you even do this problem, go ahead and round these, get an estimation, write it in a circle, and then circle. Because even when we do measurement, we know our kids will say estimate, and everybody just one off. Because they're so afraid of being wrong, and that's us. What do you think it was going to be? 57 inches. Oh, okay, what was it? 55 inches, 56 inches. Maybe you were not that good at estimating. They went back and changed it. And so just more practice with that. Because now, is this reasonable? Does this even make sense? This can be the only one. This person B, they just subtracted, and again, that means you really needed to have that picture. Because I know I can't have 12 and one takes 24, and I have 36 or 24 when one takes 36. Draw the picture, take the time. All right, what about the next one? Still a DOK1. How do I make sure I get all my DOK1 points?
That 1 week, some people like to not be sure if that means a school week or a full week sometimes. And I see both answers various times, so that might need to be another discussion.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones we can't do anything about. I always tell my kids to default to, because this is one, I got this one from Mentoring Minds. And their reasoning, like their teacher blurb was, they tell the kids to default to a week being a 7 day week.
So that's what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Because some of them we know will say, oh, well, a week is 5 days, I'm in school 5 days. But if we're talking calendar time,
There's some word problems that say somebody goes to school and they walk so far, how far do they go in a week, but they'll be talking about the thing, get one problem.
because the context of it.
Right, so that's just,
That's,
something to pay attention to that.
that's the first thing. Well, some of them, if I just, again, word problem, not sure, let me give a guess. But then the context of, well, what is a week? So I'm not really just gonna just default to, because in their life, a week is 5. That's it. I go to school, maybe I come every day, maybe for a week. A week is really 3 days for me. That's about how often I show up when I get there. But if we're talking mathematical context, in this context, they're saying a week. What is a week for math time? 7 days in a week. They sing all those songs in K to say, when I get here, I need to know that it will be time 7. So that's just us making sure, going over.
Same type of picture, the work,
Yep.
Day 1, this and that, day 2.
And again, and even if I don't, again, have to do it all the way out, if I just at least start it, that can make me see what operation I should be doing. Not a keyword, but a keyword, but not a keyword, but we know we're talking about that about, right? They'll fly right over. Put it all in big letters. Tell them we could have fireworks come off of it. Some of our kids will still be like, doesn't matter. Roll it on. So that's just rounding. That's just.
Reading around.
Did I have a number line? So if my kid has something, if got it wrong, show it to me on the number line. You know, I know the 5 or more, however it goes.
But it's
Yeah.
more or less.
Let's talk about what it means so I can make some understanding of
Let me
it.
make like repeat that.
Let's just talk about, okay, well, where would this be on the number line? Now, is it past the half point? Would I need to go to 300, or there's 100, yeah, would I need to go to 300, or would I need to go to 400? Where am I on the number line? So again, some kind of model, some kind of picture to make sure. And then also, and I think we talked about this before, making sure our kids are seeing some vertical number lines. Because a lot of times they'll only see horizontal. And then they throw a vertical one and then it's like, whew. And they abandon everything. You've been in class and you're like, oh, we've never done this. Like, there's a finger part, like right there, where you've done this. This is your handwriting. You're like, no, I've never seen this. Like, okay, well, that's weird because I think you have, but okay. So if 367 is about here, then, oh, I passed the midway point. I'm going to have to go. And then for ones that just didn't read carefully, I got in those because there's 10. Oh, and it's A. I am rocking this test, teacher. My teacher loves me. Then they won't, and especially when they're not being paper pencil, because back in the day, you get scared, you saw a bunch of A's, and you're like, wait a minute, there's like, let me change one of these. There's not this many A's. You just got like nervous about it. And now I'm just like,
You don't even remember the previous one.
but you need to change something because they wouldn't give you this many A's. So I know they want me to change one of these. And then you go change one that you weren't really sure about, but it's like, okay, go. That's not good. All right, DOK 2, 085. What mistake do we see most of our third graders making on this?
Probably not recognizing recognizing the multiplication and the adding.
Right.
They look over it too fast,
Mhm.
or, like, I always tell them, like, take your time, read them all.
Probably
Yeah.
not
So
enough practice
most of
with
them-
decomposition. I mean, if they went ahead and decomposed it, then they could find the right answer, which one matched.
So for some of our ones that, and this is sometimes a teacher thing, because we'll say, oh, this kid, they got it, I don't need to show them this property, no, they need to see how it works, because if I get a question like this, I could, but it's not asking me to solve it. I just need to know which one of these expressions will be the same, but they've never had any practice with this, because we felt like, and that's sometimes our proficient kids, I know they can do 8 times 15. And so I don't require them to use the property, but this standard is about using the different properties. They haven't met that standard because they can give me the answer, but they can't relate it back to which property it should match with. So that's making sure that even our kids that we feel like, oh, they've got this thing, I don't need them to do it. Nope. How else could you solve that? That's when you say, okay, well, show me a different way. What would you do if? I want you to use this property. How can you make that happen? So that way when they get here, and it's not just asking for an answer, I can still figure it out. And again, back to all of them, the beauty of multiple choice, especially when it doesn't say answer not given, one of these is correct. Take your time, work them out. But like you said, the part where skipping over this multiplication or addition,
Yeah.
that'll be the downfall of a lot of the kids.
Yeah, and I know order operation, I don't think is a standard in third grade, but I do teach them the parentheses, like you always do those first.
Yeah.
No, don't go beyond that.
Yeah, no, and that's what it says for
You're-
third grade. Is
Yeah.
that they understand, I have to do this, but we don't go into
Yeah.
all this.
So we like work each of them out together, and that's what we were working on with the mentoring lines.
Good? All right, so that's one of those ones, of course, we wanted to solve them all, let's make it happen.
And eliminate.
All right, 5th grade, the DOK 2, part A, part B, I've lost some kids already. Woo! Explain, I don't know about that, teacher, I'm gonna just leave this one blank. So the first thing they have to do is what?
Work them out.
Mm-hmm. That part. I don't know, some of them are, and then some of them are the DOK. I mean, not the DOK, the Georgia milestones, like,
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Come back to just, like, say, evaluate and understand the order of operations and what does that really mean, when there are no parentheses. Everybody has gotten trained, PEP is first, parentheses, but what about when there's none? You forget, then we just wanna go left to right sometimes and forget that it's order of operations.
my kids were required to, everybody, and whether it had parentheses or not, every single time. Write it, and then let's go through it. Okay, do I have any parentheses? Okay, well, let me do that first. Then when I get to that second one though, parentheses, no parentheses. Exponents, every single one, because if I get too comfortable, I want to skip something. So that's another, I need to see it on your paper. So they come to me, oh, no, what happened here? Didn't they got it right? You're missing something. I disagree with this answer because it's missing a piece of it. Go back and let's try to find it. I need to see this because if it's habit, I always do it. And even when I feel like this is an easy one, I'm still going to do it so I can get it correct. All right, what about in the written part? What do we do to make sure that we have, I can at least get partial credit? Maybe if I get it all, I wanna get it all, what am I doing to make sure that I get some credit? So part A is, if they got their computation, follow the steps, then, and that's what this part will do. Bless you. On my part B though, what am I looking for in the explanation? How am I, bless you again, how am I making sure that, thank you for covering. I was there.
I know.
It's like, hey.
You
You go ahead. You go ahead to your room and just click the link and, But, what are we doing in those steps of maximizing our math moments prior to? What are we doing on this explanation part to make sure that we can get our kids to explain why?
Because they're two different problems because of order of operation. Even though they look the same, they're not the same problem.
Helps a lot. That, and in that explanation piece,
That gives them the answer. There has to be two different answers. That's not because someone still might defend that or the same. Right, they're the same. But I mean, oftentimes the test tries to guide them to the answer.
Right.
Why they're right? So let me double check and see all that.
So you have to know that they're
they
different.
told you.
Right.
That's the same thing like that other one where it's like, they already started this problem out for you.
Yeah.
You just saw the rest. They told, baby, if you get the same, if somebody's wrong, it's
Yeah.
probably not them.
Right.
So you definitely.
Test taken, how do we figure out those answers?
But it's only those who are close readers and thinking who realize that.
But they got their keywords and aren't the keywords. And they gonna see, oh, has a greater value, but that's, so how do we, in those online moments that we have left before we get back in the building? That's where we're spending our time, making sure I'm maximizing, because DOK 1 and 2 is the multiple test. And if they're missing this, then do I really need to be spending time on this type of, on this stand on a DOK 3 type of question, if they would have missed the DOK 2, the DOK 1? I really gotta make sure, okay, well, let's slow this down, because when it gets to DOK 3, okay, you couldn't have done the basic part. I can't really expect you to extend your reasoning when the basic reasoning part was still struggling. All right, DOK 1, the old man still looks involved. What do we do for our babies? How do we make sure they get this? They gave us the circles, that was nice. The answers there, that was nice. Models there, oh man. I need to really just see which one of these is correct. Knowing our babies like we know them.
On the Georgia milestones, they do stick to the standards, or do they ever, like in the third grade, put the fourth grade?
No, there are sometimes field questions and those don't
Those
count.
don't count.
So if they see it, just, when they get it, okay, if they don't, okay. It'll be more in the upcoming year, the standards changing, so they'll have those field questions for the standards that are changing.
I mean, if you can recognize that the shaded portion is 1/4, and you count it, how many shaded portions are there, there's only one place that answer even is. So even for the basic, the person that looks like a whole nother language possibly, they can, how many are shaded? How many parts are shaded? That's 12/4. That's only in one place. So even if you can't do 3/4 times anything and add.
Count.
four.
I can count.
Count.
Right? And then going back to, because in third grade, before they even start talking about times a lot, we'll say groups of. So which one of these is 4 groups of 3/4? If I read it like that, I change that language just a little. Then now, I can see 4 groups of 3/4 because
That takes out any.
now they're out. But that's just a small language shift.
4 times 3 is 7 in B. 4 times 3 is 3 in C.
I can only.
Yeah.
And then
Man, they really.
it's there, right?
It's there.
And this, especially in the DOK 1 and 2,
Right.
It's
Which is
there.
most of the test.
which
like
means
said.
you
Means to get it right. Really just pay attention. It's not bad.
those.
Why don't
Got to have those points.
points?
Let me just go back to it real quick.
Oh, isn't that scary that so many don't?
I can get 49 items, 58 points. So that means 9 of them are a question that's worth more than 1 point.
Right.
So obviously, again, maybe don't skip this. That's where most of my points are right here.
Yeah.
So I want a few of these, and some of them will just be luck, because broken clock is right twice a day. That was a good guess. You did a good job. But I really need to make sure. DOK 1 and 2, how can I max it? I need to, if this is a numbers game and we're numbers people, because we're math people, and we're all math people, don't let the people out there tell you they're not math people, I need to play the numbers game. Because if this were I gotta bet my paycheck, well, where do I want to put that on? Even if I get this question right, is this 1 point worth more than this 1 point? No, it was still a 1 point question. I might as well get the easy 1 point.
And they're gonna see that several times, probably in a different way, the level 2 type of, the same question asked in a different way, a little bit later, just maybe different numbers, same type of setup, so if they get that, they should get it multiple times. We're hoping, if they're familiar with that.
Money in the bank.
Right.
Because, it was on an underline, I can handle that.
Yep.
Oh, they gave me a model, I can handle that. Instructor response, not skipping it, worth more than 1 point, although 1 question, let me give it a try. I can get a point or 2 out of it. Versus, I don't wanna put all my chips on the level 3, like, ooh, we gotta get all these. We're gonna get some of these, the ones we can. But if I can get these 1 and 2 anyway, then the 3s. Nearly impossible. Alright, we were here. Alright. And most of them are fractions, so again, that's the bulk of our test. And then after this, we're gonna still do some fraction work. So Aaron mixes how much? Oh, wrong. Alright, so I need to be able to compare fractions. Right, a number sentence showing the relationship between these 2 fractions. What do we do to make sure everybody has access? Sorry, just trying to get this away. Most of our kids will usually do okay with half. So even if I just take the first one and say, well, 1/2, what's my equivalent fraction to that? They're usually fine there. So that might be, I don't even want you to look at the other one. Let's just think about here, because when I see different denominators, now I freaked out. So baby, what is equivalent? Let's talk about the same thing, because, and I tell y'all too, I tell the kids, hey, mine calls me Rel. Y'all wouldn't call me that, but I'm still Rel. Y'all call me Miss McKnight. Y'all call me Miss Jones, but you see where I'm going with this. I'm still the same person, because to a lot of our kids, because a lot of our simplify, the idea that 1/2, I've just renamed this. Because even when we get that explanation and say, well, they're like the same, because no, they're not like the same. They are the same, they're equivalent, they occupy the same spot on the number line, this is his formal name, this is what he called on Friday night. Same person, right? They need to see, Friday night fractions. So I need to see, I don't even wanna do anything with the 5/8 test, let me just look at how 1/2, let me rename that so it's the same name. Cause right now I have a weekday fraction and a weeknight fraction. Or a weekend fraction. I want to have 2 weekend fractions. How do I make them 2 weekend fractions? Well, they need the same name. How do I give them the same name? Well, I know 1/2 sports, because that's probably easier, because if I have a kid trying to do something with 5/8, baby, let's just, the okay one, let's just get these points and live our life. So make 1/2 4/8, go ahead.
With a problem like this, a lot of my kids will go 2 ways because I teach them like when you see relationship, that's their way of saying to compare. So first my kids think, oh, butterfly. And then for my other group,
You don't like butterfly?
No!
I'm like.
Don't tell me anymore, don't tell me anymore, don't tell me anymore.
Show me.
No,
I like it.
no.
Why, what's so wrong with that?
What's-
They don't know when to use it.
No, they don't know when to use, I'm gonna let you finish, then we're gonna talk about why we don't do that.
Yeah, I never heard of it till last year.
Go ahead, sorry.
And then I also started teaching them the relationship between the numerator and denominator, especially with halves. I always told them how if your numerator is half of your denominator, you know that's equivalent. So when you're comparing it to another number, like 5/8, well, look at your 5. Is 5 half of 8? And they're like, well, no. So I'm like, well, what would be half of 8? And they say 4. I'm like, well, okay, well, is 4 bigger than 5 or smaller than 5? And from there, they can compare as well.
We want the mathematical reason, so go like benchmark fractions, go back to your benchmark fractions. So if I have a kid and they I don't even wanna do this, I want to find this part. I have 1/2 and I have 5/8. I want to see what do I need to add to 1/2, because my pole would be the benchmark fraction I'm gonna go to. So what do I need to go add to 1/2 to get to 1/2? 1/2. So now I can have 1. What do I need to add to 5/8 to get to 1/2? 3/8. So now I have them both at 1, but I had to add 1/2 here. I have to add 3/8 here. Now I can just say, well, which one would take a bigger piece? It's going to take more to get to which one. I had to add a bigger piece to the 1/2. So if I have to add a bigger piece here, this must be less than this because I didn't have to add as much to get that to 1/2.
That sounds cool. For them.
I don't know. We gotta try it, because we haven't tried it. That's why we need a strong understanding of benchmark fractions. Because they're going to butterfly everything
Yeah.
and not know what's going on. One, they don't know why, right? We wanna know why this is a thing. I just know the how. And 2, I have no mathematical understanding as to when to use it or not to use it, so I just use it all the time. And I'm just saying it because of what I know. Let's ask the 5th grade teachers that are in your building.
I think we see the results, like maybe the 3rd grade standard might be to simply compare. And that's one way that works every time with comparing. But they don't understand when a question is not, it's at another level, they do the same thing, and then you're like, you ask one question, and they look at it, oh, well, this. So they don't know when or how to apply it with standards get more challenging, and it just throws it all off.
And
I actually tell them not to,
don't,
be honest.
You say
and
don't
the
do the butterfly.
compare for
I say make it go.
3rd here is, it's to use a visual model, to use it on a number line. So let's get a lot of practice with that, so that when we get to 5th, we have to get our job hard.
Because we never know how to get to talking at the right levels. I mean, you know, but.
Yeah.
Do you find it messes them up if they're?
Yes.
I find them confused
Yes,
and don't know when to do it. And then we go back and then I just said, don't. Compare, we use equivalent. We find the equivalent fraction, because that works every time.
It's good to think that way, more about where
Where it goes.
you're just a step
Mhm.
in the whole process instead of just
How
doing
can-
the
yes.
test.
Yeah.
so even if we take a sport analogy, if I'm the 8 and under coach, I just need everybody to know what the rules are. You cannot pick up the ball and run. They're gonna be prime time dribbling, Steph Curry style, not at all. When I send them to 4th grade is not now saying, why is your baby picking up the ball at the free throw line running. Cause I didn't give them the rule, just do your part. And your part is just let's compare with visual models, finding benchmark fractions. Is it closer to 0, 1/2, or 1?
Right.
Give them that, really solid, and then send them on to 4th grade. I did my part, y'all pick them up now, they'll do their part, because our denominators in 3rd grade are all multiples of 2, so we're fine. They get to add some more denominators, then we'll send the 5th grade for the heavy lifting. But we don't want 5th grade to have to undo some misunderstandings before they can even start their
I
thing.
didn't know that was a problem, so that's good to know.
So another comparing, this one, DOK 2. I guess again, have to know
Reflections, right?
So what am I doing? I need to see either I've made all these equivalent to something or I've drawn it out. And again, that's really why I like these benchmark fractions. I needed how many more pieces? I needed 2/3 more. Okay, I need a half here. I only need a third more. Man, how do I figure this out? Especially my kids that some of them chose A, some of them chose D. That tells me we gotta go back to even some more understanding of this was the same guy. Friday night name, Tuesday morning name. So I can see even from their wrongers, okay, well, what are they thinking? How are they getting this mixed up? So what do we do? Benchmark fraction. 30%, 30% of that test. We know they're gonna see it. And 3rd grade is the partitioning second one. 3rd grade is the most important part. Because if I didn't get partitioning, I can still make it, because I'm gonna partition some in 3rd. So if I didn't really get it in 1st and 2nd, but 3rd grade is where we really start the heavy lifting of fractions. If they don't get that good foundation of fractions, what it means, equal parts. I have to know the total. I have to know what the whole is referring to. You want half a piece or you want, 5/8 or 5/8 of a piece. Give me the 5/8. Okay, cool. Here's your miniature pieces. So 5/8. Well, what is the whole? All those taught. Seeing on the number line. Seeing area models. Seeing set models. Seeing linear models. Making sure I'm not only seeing fractions one way. Because, man, they can hide it in 3rd grade. Because like y'all said, MBT and NF are together. And it looks like they did okay. And then that 4th grade and 5th grade, when you get separated out, now it really hits the fan and you say, oh, whew, your fractions were really struggling. You just did so well in numbers in base 10 that in 3rd grade we couldn't tell by looking quickly at the data that we weren't there for fractions. We count on y'all 3rd grade.
Except the end, that's what they're in competition.
So here's where you reuse your dimes and pennies. And that's all I'm gonna go to for kids on this one. Although when they first started it, they should have all of those 100 grids. So the ones split into tens, and the ones with 100 grid where it's hundreds, so that I can see, okay, let's shade this in, and shade this in. And I should count them all. If y'all have the interlocking base 10 block, those are great. If not, just print it out and let's write it. But here's where you use your dimes and pennies. What do we see our kids that are missing it? What are they missing it? What are they choosing? How do we get them from choosing that?
Because they're not looking at both the numerator and the denominator. So they're not looking at that 30. And I'm saying we all make them, I say, call it do the math, but you put that 3/10 and you put the equal sign next to each one. If you can't do the same multiplication problem for both numerator and denominator, that's not right. Do it for each one.
That's what we're back to. It's multiple choice. The answer's there somewhere.
Right.
It's DOK one. Let me spend them. Even if I feel like, again, I've not seen a kid run out of time. But even if I feel like I am running out of time, I just still want to spend more on the DOK one because I'll take that 1 point. I worked hard for it. I want it though, versus working really, really hard on the DOK 3. It's only down to 15 points even on the entire test that are possible. Where can I get the bang for my buck? Do them all, every single one. I especially love when, because in some of our things it'll say answer not given. They rarely do that. Work backwards, baby. Let's figure it out. But this is where you use your dimes and pennies. 3 dimes will be the same as 30 pennies. All right?
So we're thinking in terms of money, so.
Oh,
They
that is
just get it like that, because it actually switching money, because that's real with them.
All right, so DOK 2, with still the bulk of it, so we need to get it. But for my ones, not even a little slight word problem, I'm out. That's I'm out. What are we doing? How are we making sure they get this?
Understanding place value. And again, a limit, and you can see in 23 cups, how's that feasible?
Right, I started more.
It's not even-
Even go back to our, we said, let's get a reasonable answer. Let's estimate and see, I should be about where. Even though, because, okay, you got a 50% chance, because here, baby, hi, walk me through how you got to 23 cups, or walk me through how you got to less than 1, when I know I have more than 1 cup for just the milk. That's already more than 1. But again, because I saw decimals with the little word problem, I panicked. As a DOK 2, I should have got those points.
I don't let mine add 3 numbers together.
2 at a time?
Yes,
I'm not mad.
I just don't do it.
Don't
A
stack it.
lot can, but I just say, can you just show it to me with 2, add a third to the sum of 2? Because I just, problems when you're trying to line up 3 happens. If you line up that 3/10 with the 1 and 3500s, learn the decimal with those 2 and get a sum, I just think you have a better chance for those who would even might mix it up. Like, put decimal 3.
So, for the 3/10, you say to put it under the hundreds to keep it,
Put the 3 underneath the 3, the 10s, right? Get a sum there.
oh, you make them do this part,
Yes,
and then do this 65.
right.
Because everyone went to hundreds except this guy. And so even for our kids, especially when we say those rules, okay, we'll just take everything to the same place value. If I just missed this up here, that 4th grade standard, so if I didn't get this in 4th grade and now 5th grade, you're telling me to give something equivalent to 3, this was 3 10s, I didn't get this in 4th grade, boo. You over there now finding, oh no, I'm out, I'm guessing. So let's only do 2 at a time. Let's draw a bottom. Let's put on the number line. Any of those options, because we don't want and I first started, I said, we're not even stacking, because when we first learned to add in, 2nd grade, we do it on the number line. Let's count up on the number line. Show it to me with the base 10 blocks. And then we get to where, okay, now I feel safe, because even when we introduce things in 3, 4, 5, that the first time they got it, I don't think we do as good a job as like kindergarten does, because everything's new to them. You see them in the hallway, they're having an L parade. Okay, why? Well, we haven't learned L before, so we need a parade about it. Next day, everybody's got a 10 frame on. 7's our new number. When they get decimals and fractions with us, we don't treat it as this brand new thing that they're learning. We don't have a fraction parade. We didn't have let's everybody come in with your scarcity, because we just learned this vocabulary and social studies. So we kind of got to do some of those same things that kindergarten's doing, that they're engaging in, because this is the first time they're getting it, especially the standards where it's the first time they're getting it. Yes, they have a lot of school under their belt. Yes, they've been adding and subtracting for a while by the time I got them, but this is the first time they did this type of addition, this type of subtraction, multiplication, division with the decimals. Let me still make it a big thing, so I can kind of get some buy-in from my kids, and then I can have that experience of, I remember, I was too cool for it. My teacher made everybody dress up as a decimal. I thought I was too cool, but I did it. And I always remember it. But the same way I did all this L stuff. Everybody had lemons, and we brought in my favorite pet is a lion. Let's do that same stuff with decimals when they get to it, fractions when they get to it, because it's new to them. Go ahead.
With a place value, trying to work this.
So anything where I'm making sure that, one, this part would be a strategy for my people who I don't want everybody doing all of them at once. And your strategy might be where you've been taking it a step back from there. Prove to me why this would be 3/10. Put it in the place value chart so we can see. Okay, well now it's lined up. And it has to be because make them do it. I'll be real. No, I can't hear you, baby. Which one is it? What are you saying? Are you saying 10s? It's not. No, 10. Oh, tenths. Give it to me. Give me tenths. That way, that over dramatic. Now I'm getting to the test, because honestly, even when kids read on the test, they don't read it the way they should be reading it. Because I'm saying it in my head. Or 1.35, they know they wouldn't say 1.35, they had to say it out loud. But if we do so much of it in class, you hear point, I say, ah! Every time, oh my goodness! Y'all kick my heart, like, oh, don't kill the teacher. And they get to the test and it's, I'm not reading that, she might be able to hear me. I'm walking by, she can hear me, I know she can hear me, 1 in 3,500. Good. And then that's us modeling it too, the way we say, hey, I've been doing math a lot longer than y'all. I still do all these steps when I do math. We have to, that math, we have to teach them to think about thinking. It's not innate. We know that from some of the decisions they make, from some of their TikToks, that thinking about thinking is not innate. Baby, why did you do that? Oh, I don't know. You weren't thinking. That's fine. Come on back. So let me teach you how to think about thinking. Let me teach you how, as I'm solving it, what should I do next? Asking that second question. A lot of our kids, we get that answer, that's great. 4 o'clock right twice a day. I get the bang from my butt, that second question. Well, why did you do that? Explain that to me. What's another way I can do that? That's how I'm gonna make sure they're getting that math understanding. So if I put it in the place value chart, so now I need to see all these strategies. I'm only doing 2 at a time. Place value chart. I got my estimation first. It was a lot of work for DOK2, but DOK2 bulk of the test. Maximizing my moments. I'm gonna have a lot of these. I'm gonna get this same one again, just different numbers. Good. Ooh, rectangle's gone. Imagine just say rectangle there. All right, 3rd grade. Area models they usually do better with. When they see those as well.
Well, like, I mean, I would tell, like, it's kind of nice that they're stacked like that, because you can actually see what's equal. So I point that out.
Yeah, and
And
that's
show it in a different way, like I do the pizza a lot, you know.
And which numerator is half of the denominator for a half, that's easy.
You look at the denominator. And you know, first you need to make sure that you have, like, for each one, if you were doing them all separately, like the first one has 4, so it's 4 pieces.
you're right.
Well, that's what I said, because it's stacked, that's like, kind of gives it away. We're doing breakfast right now, birth, hop. But it's like,
I'm like, totally destroyed this. But after reading it all off,
it's like, I haven't even gotten fractions yet, and we started hop, so it's like, I'm literally teaching. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, but, I mean, like last year, I was able to fit it in for hop, but.
let's do this here.
Yeah, like we're cutting into other standards, and we're supposed to start out with, sorry, I just do it.
So hold on, I'm just gonna do my prep, but I had,
I mean, they remind me of myself. The whole thing is like, well, to me, and that's why it's gonna be so hard when they get to you guys, because. And they're so kind.
you have less. How, I think that's more of a know that you have no idea. How do you feel they weren't coming in? Where do you feel like deficient? Or did you? So no overarching. How are they doing?
Yes, I would just say,
And the motivation. So there's nothing you did. They're just. They make sure that you get to the cycle from 7 a.m. to 2 o'clock every day. I can't ever do it. So I'm like scared when you go there, so you're gonna try to call me. Fifth graders up there. Just want to get out. They play outside, they fight the bathrooms. Physically, verbally. It's like
I hate to run, but duty calls. As you know, we got a million things going on. My heart is math, and I would love to stay here and escape from all of the stuff that I really have to do. But
Thank you for
I won't be able to do that. So I am going to check back in. We're gonna modify this a little bit since we started late. That's what I was speaking to her about. So we at least will go till about 11, and that way we'll, instead of doing another session, and then we'll have questions, you know, they wanna chime in and ask questions or, you know, figure out a way to get them to you. They can text me or, you know, or you can get an email address and then maybe they can email you questions and then you can respond on online. I don't know, that's just another thought. But your K through 2 colleagues will be queued up at 1 o'clock and we will be working with fact fluency. And so even though it's K through 2, because we're doing this live, I'm encouraging those teachers who, let's say maybe, you know, you are a special education teacher or ESOL, or, you know, you have students whose skills are at K through 2, that maybe you also want to chime in. But I do understand you're preparing your lessons for this 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, however many weeks it's gonna be. We're starting with these next 2 weeks, because then we would have been on spring break. So for now, we're looking at getting our assignments and things ready for 2 weeks worth of work. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. And just text me or call me.
Yes, thank you. Alright, we'll let it get to the parking lot and we'll roll them out. Alright, so, and especially if they stack it, like tell your kids, hey, they give me, this is they give me, they gave me this. Draw a line down here and see what happens. And again, that part of being on the computer is difficult, but I can take my pencils, figure out, so something for my kids who are still not that great at getting the equivalent fraction, what strategy do I have? What can I do to make sure that I can still get this right? 4th grade.
First, tell them to identify each fraction and description.
Because when I'm looking at an area, oh, this looks like it could be the same, I'll go with this. Versus I've written the fraction, and then,
Some of them trying to turn the screen.
right. And tell them, if this is the one you're that comfortable with, then use a model that you like better. I can always change the model. I want rectangles work better for me, because it does seem like I can just rectangles, because I can just partition it and keep showing you. Because we know our circles, someone was,
Like the thirds.
Right.
From the thirds.
2/3. And then some of us, because we've only shown them one a certain type of way, and then we always do. A good way of checking if you're doing something far too often is just say to your class, everybody show me a model of 2/3. If I get the same 2/3 from everybody, that means I probably use that model too much. Because that's what they defaulted to 2/3 being, so everybody gave me a rectangle, everybody gave me vertical lines, ooh, that's me. And that's, at that point, it became a recipe of this is what 2/3 looks like. So now I know as a teacher, I need to change how I'm making sure that I'm showing them 2/3. And thirds, especially, we usually don't show it on the triangle or the or circle as much because it's too difficult to draw, for being honest. Like, even when we draw the rectangles, we're like, ooh, y'all know this is supposed to be the same, but on this we just don't even. So making sure, do that teacher check. But yes, I need to write identify each one of these fractions. because now it makes it a little easier for me. That didn't make it easier for me, make it a model you like. You prefer rectangles, let me see a rectangle. You prefer a number line, do that, but I need to do something so that I'm not just looking at this DOK one question and guessing. Leave those points there. All right, what about the DOK two, still an NF one? Keyword is not a keyword.
I don't know what to tell you, because it said keyword, not a keyword, but my kids are going all that.
All that apply, all that apply. So, can I compare fractions? All that apply, I need every single. Ooh, I'm stopping when I get to. Bam, got that, because it's already enforced. So I didn't do anything with any of the others because that's not right. My teacher told me, how many pieces? Not everything else is forced. This should be forced too. Select all that apply. Are we making sure we're giving them enough select all that apply in class so they can have that practice with it? That might be something we need to make sure we up. Good? Okay, so resources for independent learning. If you have your laptop, then let's go to some of these. So ucube.org, and a lot of these are, they can do it just online, or they can also, that didn't give me internet access, but I use the. So this, the first one is Joe Bowler. Does a lot with the, .com, just kidding, change that. With, like math mindset. And so as your kids are out, if we need them to get some practice things in, but it's a lot of different ways and you just go to task. They can search by grade, by topic. This is gonna be slow, y'all. I'm just on my Wi-Fi because they didn't give me internet access. Pull it up on yours, so you can kind of peruse through it. And actually, everybody can have it.
I can't get the internet on this. I brought the wrong computer, so I didn't know where. But I'll watch here. Wait, this is free?
Yes.
So nice too. I like the full papers.
So some of them will be, 10th grade, just kidding. Unless you have somebody who's there, that's good too. But on all of them, some of them will actually be a handout. Some of them it's not. It'll just be a game and it'll tell them what materials they need, and they're all like things that you can just have pennies, calendars, those type of things, so they can stay engaged, but also do some kind of outside of thinking, which we know some of our kids are just kind of really linear. But the more flexible they are with numbers, the better they'll be, because I don't need to only think of 47 as 4 10 7 ones. It can be 47 ones, or it can be 4 10s and 70 tenths, or however they need to think of it. So that flexibility, so a lot of these tasks will give them that practice with being able to see things different ways. So that's just something you can choose select ones to kind of put into your plans, or you can, just tell your kids, hey, everybody choose whichever one you want from these selections, because a lot of times you can get by just with choice. Like Dan Finkel was saying, games, like every part of it has to have a choice, because I didn't really want to do either one of these, but because I had a choice between two things, I felt more involved. I felt a little bit of autonomy, because I'm still doing what my teacher wants me to do, but I didn't have to do it this one specific way. So going through there, you can find some tasks. Let's look, math before bed. Go ahead and check that one out. Yes. This will have, even when you are back, a lot of things you can do as kind of numeracy warm-ups. I think the last session we did like a lot of the which one doesn't belong, to get them thinking. A lot of those things that have more than one right answer, especially for our kids that are just, I'm not feeling it, I don't feel comfortable. And we, again, call them first so they give us something.
I like how colorful it is. It's fun.
And again, get them thinking critically, because like, and we see it in all the little leaflets we get, like we call ours portrait of a graduate, what do y'all call y'all little thing where we want critical thinkers, we want collaborative thinkers, we want all these things, but what are we doing to foster that? Because it can't be once you get to Lithonia High, they'll take care of that. Once you get to McNair High, like every day they're becoming who they'll become. And so what am I doing now to make sure that the mathematician they're becoming is going to have a job? Automation is going to, I don't need to give kids, my kids can only do a thing, a way. If I just say, I'm just going to tell them keep, change, flip. Because, that's, right? But then I've only made kids that can follow rules. If I have kids that can only follow rules, they can only do jobs that are about following rules. If there's a job that's only about following rules, I can get that job to a computer because I don't have to pay the computer to have maternity leave. I don't have to pay the computer health insurance. I don't have to pay the computer when there's coronavirus. So if we only have kids that I can only follow these set of rules, we're not preparing them for a job. So these things will help them get that kind of discussion on that flexibility, that critical thinking that we need from them.
That overall picture of where you're going.
Mm-hmm. And then we have bedtime math, which is another one that's pretty similar to the math before bed, but we'll have different activities. Grade 10 math, and the most folks you're familiar with, has the games. And then again, even for our kids that don't have access, because we know some of our kids, even if we give them a Chromebook, okay. So they have documents if you want to print some of these resources out so that they can have. And I know even that's tough because copies. And then it's the same package when we say, we'll practice this. Our kids that absolutely have it, they're the ones that always complete the package. Maybe I didn't even really give this for you. I need this kid to practice, but so these are things that are a little more engaging than the typical package, so they can be interested in, I will do this, I will get this math practice in. One more time.
This one right here where it says reach out on Twitter.
Oh yeah, so this guy is, if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, even if you never want to tweet anything, but just follow like a lot of math people. So this guy is a course that he and another young lady, and I'll give you guys my Twitter so we can find him, or I'll find him. But he said yesterday, like with so many people having to basically go to digital teaching that never have, and they have courses that are created that are usually they cost, but he's very kind said that we will just share these because there's no sense in teachers struggling to make new things when we have things created. No one was expecting to be home for 2 and 3 weeks. So we can reach out and get that and get access to that site for free instead of having to pay what they usually charge for. So that's super nice. And it's usually a summer course that they do for like rising third graders, rising second graders, whoever. So even that would be good for review for some of your kids that are in that grade. But then if we feel like those ones that need to be enriched, go ahead and have them kind of start looking at that next grade. So it's just all right, so engagement, I don't know if you guys will be live or if it'll be a recorded thing, but teaching online is hard because imagine how distracted they are when they're right here with us, when I can still come by and tap their desk. So imagine now, I am at home. you couldn't get to me if you wanted to. So how do we keep them engaged? So making sure there's a lot of opportunities for learning and interaction. Don't think webinar, because even us, we'll check out our webinars because it's just an hour of somebody talking and they never ask any questions or did anything. So a lot of frequent going back of type this in the chat box. You know, put this here. So we have to do a lot more of that than we usually do in the classroom because they're gonna have two screens up, y'all. That's just the switches in the hand. These are things we know. So how can we combat some of these things that we know they're going to do? Encourage sharing. So the same way return and talk. You know, type 2 things. You know, we did it in college, and you quickly get what you need. Because I agree with to add on to, but that kind of thing will keep them going, keep the conversation flowing for them versus just sit and get. Because sit and get in the classroom is terrible. Sit and get online is unbearable. Freely provide directions in various ways. So this is what we're doing. Again, everything we do in class, even for those learners, I have to up that 100 times online because you're not there with me. So I'm frequently going back. What are we doing again? And I might turn on a mic at a time because I don't want a bunch of people yelling at you. I'm not sure what kind of platform I use anyway, but just in general with online teaching. So let me turn on this mic and who's going to be able to speak. And can somebody restate? So all those things we do in class anyway, we really have to make sure we're doing them constantly. Who can restate what they said? Who can tell me another? You got kids or a pet? Leverage them. Our kids love to know about our lives anyway. They always ask how old are we? Which one is your car? You might have to bring in somebody. Here's my puppy. And now everybody's invested because, oh, let's see the puppy. Put the puppy down. And I got everybody's eyes. Like, and I told them what I wanted to do. Then I got another important piece coming up. Boom, here's my baby. Look at my baby, y'all. Here's my baby. Everybody's eyes are there. Put the baby down. Softly. You know, a little something. And now I have everybody's attention. I got everybody stopped for, 40 seconds. They weren't doing the TikTok. They weren't on their Switch. They weren't playing Nintendo DS because the opportunities are there. They do that when they're with us in class. They got 2 screens on their Chromebook. So if they're at home, then oh my goodness. So making sure that we can do some of those things, and then frequent rewards and badges. I used to teach online for this company where we had to do, we had to give a reward, and we had like a built-in reward, and we had to give another reward. So you either do pull up a quick tic-tac-toe board, and where do y'all want to put this one? Well, it's my turn. The teacher put X here. Where do you guys want to put O? Then I get them talking about it for a little while. Here's where you want O. Put it in this corner. No, put it here. Whatever. Some kind of rewards where they know every now and then we're going to go back to this. So if it's a star, or if you can draw, which I can't, you can draw a piece of something every time, or you have something that's covered up and you put numbers on it. Which one do you want to take off? I took off 2, so now it's unveiling a picture, and now they're trying to guess what it is. But some kind of way of rewarding them for staying with me, not falling asleep, not putting the post-it over your camera and leaving. But it's tough, and we know people in charge of education can't really even identify children, so they really shouldn't be in charge of children. But they say like, oh, we'll just go digital learning, like it's no big deal. It's like, y'all, have you taken a class online? Because I have, and I was an adult, and I struggled. So imagine your 8-year-olds, imagine your 10-year-olds, a bunch of these things to try to get them so that we can really stay focused on the task. And like Dr. Jones said, we don't know what our socials look like. Honest to goodness, we shouldn't take them to get a waiver because all the standards that we haven't even addressed, how's that going to happen? And and I know we didn't talk a lot about it anyway, but even on when we talk, bang for your buck, but still knowing your kids, because for some of my kids, I know this is a struggle. I might say I gotta make sure they get these 6 points. Generally, the thought is we're not gonna spend a lot of time here because even if you got all those, that's not enough to pass. But for some of my kids, it needs to be this is not, Ray, show me point, line, right. That's the ones where I'm like, I know you can get those. But some of these we haven't even addressed yet. We haven't even gotten to, well, my district based on our curriculum that, but we haven't even, and to have them learn that by themselves is difficult. But that's just knowing your kids and the ones that, I know it's only 10%, I know it's only 6 points, but this kid's gonna have to pick up these 6 points here because I know they're gonna really struggle trying to get the 6 of those 12 points for numbers and operations based in. That would be difficult. So that's just still part of the number game where you drill down more because you know your particular kids and what they would need best. But I mean, I don't know how it looks. So Dr. Jones says she found out, she'll tell you principals, y'all, they tell y'all. I don't see how, when we still have so many unaddressed standards, and I can't introduce those new standards online.
Right, and how can you have ramifications of something that you have something very.
Right.
People just go and access,
Right, access and equity, like, okay, thank you for my Chromebook teacher, you've been great, I'm gonna put this down as soon as I get home because internet.
Right.
We're saying everybody needs to have high-speed, reliable internet. And then, it's a lot, but y'all, even if I'm a parent, my kids are out, I'm still going to work, all I'm saying is, big one, watch the next one watch the little one, don't turn on my stove, don't tear up my house, whether or not you did this, you logged on at a certain time or you did this work, I'm not gonna be able to manage that. I'm just making sure my kids don't eat all the food in one day. Don't use all the toilet paper in one day. So I don't know, y'all. I'm not in charge, because if I were, then we'd be like, well, we wouldn't have to we don't have to talk about it, so we'll talk another time. But,
You're not a test taker person,
I mean, there's validity in it, but it's then,
I'm saying anyway. Okay, but like,
Hey,
Roger.
they told me to talk about one thing, I'll talk about that one thing, and roll on out, so maybe they'll have me back to talk about another thing another time. But, alright, some of these are for, alright, we have 10, 15-ish, 17-ish minutes. So we have a few things. One, I did want to show y'all some of the things that will be used in the numeracy fluency for the K2 because some of it can apply to us. But I also want us to do some fraction strategies because again, 30% of those big numbers. So let's do that part first, and then we'll move into those other things. So let's do. You didn't offer me a check?
D-E-N-T,
D-N-T? D-E-N-T, then,
understand.
you still didn't offer me a chip, I'm gonna let it slide.
Oh, right here you go.
Alright, let's, two ways, give me two ways.
Multiply the numbers together.
Do them. Oh, you got to see, you got all the ways, you got the research on the fractions.
I did, I found out that I already.
Come on, fourth grade, two ways. If you're not sure, you need to be pretending that you dropped something over here, come sit by Miss Dennis. Anybody estimate first? Y'all, come on, we talked about it. Go ahead and give me your about answer. Get your about answer circling in the corner. Oh, they don't like my handwriting.
No, I just can't, they can't see it. Well, if I can't see it on there, I know they can't see it.
No, I was kidding. I actually didn't keep that in mind the whole time. This has been, I've never done this, so this
Okay.
is.
It's hard to believe there's really a camera there, because it's so little.
I know I haven't been back to it a bunch of times. My bad, y'all.
Video camera.
I forgot to do We'll multiply to find common denominators. Again. All right, figure that one. So what else? So don't tell me that one. What else do we have? Draw a picture.
Mr. Marshall, please contact the front office. Mr. Marshall,
I like
please contact
it's
the
all
front
the
office.
time, those ones that are good and appropriate, the way they remind the models of good, that's always those who stay wanna draw models, but they don't do it right, so
They don't
lead them to the wrong lesson.
Right, they don't separate, they don't make each piece equal.
No, exactly.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah, it's not gonna
So we can say that, so like, go to, I mean, if they knew how to convert that to the decimal, that'd be another way, if they did that 67 plus 80, that'd be
Yeah.
47.
So-
47.
That'd be complicated.
Yeah, that's all I wanted. Oh, you know what? That made me think, that's probably, I didn't see that, I know it should have been there.
That's really simple, I would never tell them.
One, we just wanna make sure they're in the ballpark, so for my kids that if they're still just going, I'm gonna add everything. And so now when I get 6/8, okay, when you said that this should be about what? Even if I got 6/8, well, that's about 1, but I said I want it to be probably about 2, so somewhere in there, so now I'm like, well, this must be wrong. This must be wrong, so even that part, if it's a multiple choice, now I can say, okay, well, let me at least mark out this one.
And then you recognize the fourth, this is so close to 100.
Really on this one, I mean, number line, but then I'm still back to, because even if I had someone say, no, I wouldn't even want them to do that. The model part of it is difficult, because again, so now I need to try to leverage, you have lined paper, how can you make sure these are all the same? Because before we couldn't give them grid paper, and even line paper, they always have to use on the test, just computer paper. So how can I make sure, and I tell them fold the paper. If you go ahead and fold this, then you know these sections are used. And then you can kind of manipulate it from there. So now I'm like, I haven't cheated, I give you a ruler, I give you any kind of graph paper, but I've made it so that you can find a way with just being able to fold the paper that you do have. What about sorry, this is big. 2 ways. They have that kid in your class or I need something.
I only take up one way.
You better go sit by Miss Tibbs.
Yeah, better.
What are your 2 ways? She's not sharing chips though.
No, definitely.
Once they realize that they can't take the 3/8 from 2/8. Some will make that 58, some like to do that, or some make it 86 and make it 5 and 10. And then either one.
Mr. Pondy, can you please report to the front office? Mr. Pondy, can you please report to the front office?
I would, because my kids are coming off using a bunch of strategies in a second anyway. And I like to think of this when I tell my kids, man, subtraction's not really my thing. Can I do? I love addition. So when I can, I think addition. So if I have 3 8s, how many more 8s do I need to get to one whole?
2 more. I'm sorry, 5 more.
Alright, now I'm at 1. I can make a jump to get to 6. What do I need to do to get to 6? How do I get from 6 to 6 1/4? So now instead of me having to hope that they can get a common denominator here, or I have to remember that, because we know they'll take that whole number understanding and say, well, let me just cross this out, make it a 10, because that's what they're used to, versus, oh, 1 whole for this problem is different. Go back to what you know, baby, you did a whole bunch of number lines as an addition strategy. So now I just really need them to add 5 8s and 1/4, and I feel a little better about them adding than I do subtracting for the most part. Just another way. So for some of my kids, subtraction, let's think of addition.
So what do you say to get them from 1/4 to 2/8?
Get them from 1/4 to 2 8.
How do you teach?
What do you mean, get them from 1/4 to 2
Well,
8?
you said all you need to do then is for them to add 5
No,
eighths.
5 8s, because the 5,
Right,
you know,
but then the fractions they have to add at that point are 5 eighths and 1/4. 5 eighths and 1/4. So what do you tell them to do to convert 1/4?
I need a common denominator here, so what can I do to 4?
So you just talk out.
So the 3rd grade part of it, when they're using the blocks, is so I can see quickly how I get here.
And then fourth grade gets to be the ones that say, oh, if I multiply both the numerator and denominator by the same, then now, so they have to get that, seeing it with you guys. Then fourth grade takes it to the level where now they can just do the multiplication. So now I say, okay, well, how do I get this? So I can find my equivalent fraction, and now I just have to add these, and I can, the whole number 5, oh, no big deal.
We were just talking about, we were just talking about this. Okay.
It was close,
I
we had
literally
one half. Oh.
I literally had that, cause I wrote this on the board yesterday.
You understand what we were saying,
I'm just saying.
So no keep change split, what are we doing, what are we doing? How
No, and I promise you, I thought about you, cause when it came time to do it, I said, no, she's not gonna tell me about that, 'cause you went off last time that I did.
It's just,
You don't teach them the flip?
no!
That's
No,
what we-
listen, we talked about, listen, but this is good though, because we talked about how we don't have that vertical planning a lot. Fifth grade is at the biggest disadvantage because we just send them to another school. And now sixth grade, and we know people, because people say it here, what are they doing down there?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's doing their best, I promise. But sixth grade, oh, they cursing us all the way. They don't know. They don't, elementary don't know what they doing, they teaching everything, they not even math specific, they don't know what they doing. Let's talk about it. Right, so at the same time, the same way, instead of when we had, I don't wanna always have to say times, because what does times mean if I'm not mathematically sound? Groups up, groups up, groups up. So even when I get here, 6 divided by 1/4, well, I don't really know how to make a lot of sense of that, because first of all, I don't like division, check. I don't like fractions, check, check. Miss, I'm out. I'm about to tear your class up, and you wanna put me out of class. Right? Now, no, that's what happens. I successfully avoided math. Our kids they're not that good at analog clocks. They got that internal clock. Lunch is over. Math's about to start. I'm about to act a fool. I'm gonna get put out of class. Because I want to avoid math because I don't feel confident. My peers will laugh at me. So instead, how can I think, first of all, draw a model, right? But if I ask this as how many groups of 1/4 are in 6?
Yeah.
I can handle that,
That's what I did, I drew
right?
6 circles and split them on fourths.
Keep going to circle.
But
Make sure you
ultimately,
clear.
you're multiplying. I know, you have to be careful with circles. In the end.
No, I'm saying it's fine. I was just saying as a because I've seen it on a few of yours. Make sure that in your class.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've learned that.
What if I have? I want to make sure it's not.
I'm still back on the first one, but ultimately, the answer is a product. It is 20.
The answer's great, but how do I get there?
But
You can't be so concerned with right answer. So if my kid gives me the right answer, great. How'd you get that? What are you gonna do when you don't get this problem again? You get a problem like this problem. Because all those DOK 1 and DOK 2 we saw was the same type of problem, changing the circumstance just a little bit. So even if I know this one, what do I do when I get a problem like this problem?
Just like,
until you get to 24.
yeah, or just remind yourself that
Until you
there's
get to
6
6.
holes.
Draw 6 rectangles. There's
6
divided
holes. That's what I,
into
yeah,
fours.
in the fours, count each one, right?
Right, fours,
I'm really-
five, and eight, and six.
All right, so our dividend, what do we have?
Each one needs to be in fours.
You're all fast.
All right.
I'm
sorry.
Y'all see, I got my knee brace on.
So you divide each of those into fours and
So-
you count each.
How many?
We wanna know how many
1/4
groups of 1/4 are in 6.
Right.
So here's my 6.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying.
I guess I'm confused with the answer is.
Okay. That's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
So I would say remind yourself that the space is a whole, so there has to be
Right.
6 holes.
And even before, so we go back to our estimation, what is my answer? Oh, no. Somebody, not here, but somebody in 3rd grade tells our babies, when you divide, the answer gets small, right? They tell them, and they tell them when you multiply, the answer gets bigger. And then these lovely ladies get them. These lovely ladies get them. Oh, you said, oh, so I got scared. And then they say, and then they see on the test where A, B, C, D, they say, well, my teacher said the answer will get smaller. But I'm only taking a piece. How many pieces of something are in 6? I should have more than 6 pieces if I only need a piece of it. And I have 6. So now I need, my answer has to be greater than the dividend. I only take a piece for each one of them. So now I split it up. So here's 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. How many 1/4s are in 1?
4. And you have 6 holes.
And I have 6. So for some of them though, and especially everybody when we're starting out, everybody's drawing it. The entire thing. Even my ones that when they got the right here, I see what's happening. I think I do too. Let's keep going. Let's verify. Let's justify it. Mathematicians want to be sure of this thing. Right? Because I don't want, I go keep change flip and then I get to where, what do I do when my dividend is also a fraction? And now I wasn't comfortable with fractions anyway. And now I have to try to multiply, but I'm also not comfortable with multiplication. I can draw a picture. I can always draw a picture. I can always rely on sticks and dots. I can always rely on counting. And we know those are lower levels. So guess what? That's where some of our kids are. So that's where I need to be so that I can reach those kids and then we can build them up to where they need to be. But again, when I get that DOK 1, that DOK 2, I don't want my kids getting here and freaking out and not trying anything because I didn't give them some strategy to use. Draw a picture, baby. You can't say during the test, that's why during the math class time, I can't look at this yet. I need your model. Go back, give me your pictorial representation, then we'll talk about it. Because if you tell me you don't understand, I don't know what part you don't understand until I see something.
I'm just saying, then they gotta, 5th grade, they gotta make a word problem that requires them to do that. So even when they get to the point they understand that, so what's a valid word problem to make the connection, like a constructive response?
That's where, because we can't that's how we can bump this up, because one, in the standards, it'll say real life application, but none of this stuff is real life. Nobody's buying all these things, like 57,000 watermelons. That's not real life. Stop saying it's a real life application. So now, and even when we say, hey, everybody, once you have this, give me a situation where this will make sense. And then the next day on the document camera, guess what I have? I have an intent paper. So even though she hates math, I now got this kid's paper saying, this was a real interesting problem that she came up with. That kid's invested at least in that problem. They'll get everybody else like, this is my problem, y'all need to be paying attention. And I can see, are they making sense of it? Because if you can come up with a problem for it, when you start to solve it, and you get an answer, you know that, that can't be right, because that wouldn't make sense for the context of this problem. Because I can come up with my own context for it.
So what do you say for the, how do you solve the 7 divided by 2 parts?
Draw me 7. Draw 7.
So you're always using illustrations?
To start off with, to maybe continue with, because even when we say CRA approach, it's not that it's linear. I can go back to any one of those at any time. But I don't want to start off at abstract and my kids struggle with division, they struggle with fractions, they can't make understanding of what's happening because I told them keep, change, flip. And we say, that's even if they say, I showed them this way and they got it. What we meant when we said they got it is they got the answer and I felt good, but they didn't get the understanding. And I am putting them in a box. I'm making it so that if you go to, I think it's like payworkload.com or something like that, I'll find it. The top 48 or 50 jobs that make the most money require math. I'm not doing my kids any justice if I'm not giving them math skills they need. Fractions is a gateway. If I don't give fractions, I don't do other algebra. I don't do other geometry. Then that keeps me out of those math classes. It keeps me, some people, it just keeps them out of college altogether. Remedial math, can't get it, okay, I'm not going to deal with it. And the ones that they get in college, but it keeps them out of those math classes, it keeps them out of certain careers.
So you're just saying to start with you're doing.
Always start with the concrete.
Right.
And it wouldn't even be this, it would be us, here we go, let's train in these fraction columns. All right, what do you do now?
Well, I guess in that way you count how many 2/3 you have. Divided in each block into thirds.
You did it? How many?
21 divided by 2. So 10 and a half. No, 10 and a third.
Use your model.
10 and a third.
So now what?
You have 10 of the 2/3 with 1/3 left over.
So most of my kids, I was starting with only show the 2/3 here. But then I still have more, so what do I have to do?
10 and a half. Huh? I'm sorry.
So I'll show my 2/3, but then when I have all these scribing 1/3 left, what do I do with those?
Okay, so you mark. So you count 2 for one, 2 for the other 2. So you have 10 and a half.
I don't want an answer.
Oh, so you don't connect the group, the 2, each time you have one of the empty ones, you count 2 of those for the 2/3. Is that what you're talking?
So 1, 2, 3, and then still mark 2 of these.
So you have 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 that you have there. 8, 9, 10. What?
You just move these.
So you can move and fill, but then, so I do anything with these yet, or would you have your kids do? Would you tell them just do this part first and then come over? Okay. Y'all not talking to me.
Well, for me, I guess I'm looking at it, because I think I was on this then, with the reciprocal, because it always teaches them the reciprocal, but I'm looking at how you did the 6 and divided by 1/4, because in my mind, okay, that's what I would always tell them, right, change it, flip it, of course. But then I'm looking how you did this, so I'm making notes. On the first one, you made the boxes, you made 6 boxes, and you put 1/4 in each box, and they were to add them all up, correct? So then I'm thinking on this one, I will make 7 boxes, put 2/3 in each one and add them all up, but that's not what you did. That looks to me like I would go to multiply, because as you see, I did it on the paper. That goes to looking like this, and then I would take, them and make, holes into it, because once you do simplify, it's still gonna come. So it's kind of like, I guess, interchangeable when you're saying doing the same skill, because I'm gonna take those and I'm gonna fill in, where is that, because it's ironic, I teach this to the kids, when we do this model, I'll say, well, how many available spaces do you have in each one? And they'll say 1, I have 1 available space. And I tell them the goal is to have completely filled in each box. So they would take 1, put it in each one, and keep going to fill it in. And then the model will show the simplified answer as to what the answer is. So that's kind of like where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm just
It's
trying
2
to.
and 8, and it's 2 and 2/3. When you fill each one, like the top one, is fill with the first 2, and then the bottom one,
You can line them all up.
the left
But
2
you're in
more,
the column.
and 2/3. If that's how we're thinking, I'm thinking hard not to think about
Like,
it.
I'm having a hard time thinking the one that's left, when I see that picture, I wanna say 1/3 for the one that's left over. And
1/3 plus 2/3.
It's 10 and a third.
Oh,
I was thinking,
so, all right, we get y'all out.
I mean, 10 and a half, that's what. I'm
So
having-
everybody has an answer.
10 and a half.
it's
I like that, it's hard
not 4 and 2/3.
seeing it in the illustration. It's hard to think of it as a half instead of a third. What's that software?
Brady Camp.
Brain?
Brady Camp. So this would be how many groups of 2/3 are in one, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes?
We need 7. Oh, that helps.
But then what do we need to do? Start making some what?
Groups of different threats.
So on here, which probably was the best, I would usually have my kids circle it first, but then let's go back and see the rest of them so that we can find how many I would need to fill in. But for my kids that are struggling, do I trust them to draw? Or actually give them those color tiles and let them manipulate, let them move them over?
How is that 10 and a half? I'm dotting everything up.
What if they count the, when they count the yellow ones, and then they get 14?
How many groups of 2 zeros do we see? I still have some that I need to rectify, right?
Yeah, I would think you'd group the red ones. I'm scared to say anything.
No, don't be. All right, I do have to let y'all go. Come back right before you go to your next one. So you can still have your lunch and such.